Okay, boys and girls, we are going to be talking about poetry. We read some poems yesterday. We're going to talk about them more today. So first off, I want to talk to you about what is poetry. Well, poetry is writing that is chosen and arranged to create an emotional response through meaning, sound, and rhythm. Now there's a famous poem, and his name is Dylan Thomas. And he defined poetry this way. He said, poetry is what makes me laugh, or cry, or yawn, what makes my toenails twinkle, what makes me want to do this, or that, or nothing. That's what he said poetry is. Now, I think you enjoyed the poems we read yesterday. Did you enjoy the poems we read yesterday? I did. I enjoyed the poems we read yesterday. Now, here's a poem. As a matter of fact, this is a poem that, did we read this poem last year, Keep a Poem in Your Pocket?
No.
No? It used to be in our old reading series, this poem. And here's a poem, and it says, keep a poem in your pocket. Keep a poem in your pocket and a picture in your head, and you'll never feel lonely at night when you're in bed. The little poem will sing to you, the little picture will bring to you a dozen dreams to dance to you at night when you're in bed. So keep a poem in your pocket and a picture in your head, and you'll never feel lonely at night when you're in bed. That's something to think about, right? Because a poem always gives you something to think about, something to dream about. It fills your mind with emotions. It fills your mind with pictures. A poem does a lot of different things for you. So we're going to be learning a lot of different things about poems. So poetry has different elements. They're called poetry elements, or elements of poetry. And I want to talk to you about some of those elements of poetry right now. First off, one of the elements of poetry is something called alliteration. Everybody say that word, alliteration.
Alliteration.
Alliteration is the repetition of the beginning consonant sounds in words. The beginning consonant sounds in words. And here's an example. Slimy slugs slither slowly on the sidewalk. I'm going to say it again. Slimy slugs slither slowly on the sidewalk. What sounds do you hear at the beginning of those words? What sounds do you hear, Lisa? The S, like the SLs. Yes, you hear a lot of S's. Here we have a lot of SLs at the beginning there. But you hear a lot of S sounds at the beginning. That is called alliteration. And that's a poetry device, where you hear a lot of S's, or you'll hear another consonant sound at the beginning. This example, it's the S's. Another element of poetry would be imagery. And those would be words or phrases that have vivid descriptions that appeal to the five senses. It creates a picture in the reader's mind. Here's an example. The thick, fuzzy coat was a blessing in the winter blizzard. So the thick, fuzzy coat, that paints a picture in our head. I'm imagining a thick, fuzzy coat. It doesn't say the coat, it just doesn't say coat. It doesn't just say the coat was a blessing in the winter blizzard. You're not imagining anything when it says that. Aren't you imagining more when it says the thick, fuzzy coat? I already have a vision in my head. I'm imagining as a matter of fact, I'm imagining one of those fuzzy coats, and it's red, and it's got a hood. I got a whole coat in my mind already. I have it all pictured in my head, because it's helping me with the imagery, with the words. Now we also have got one of the elements of poetry is a metaphor. We studied metaphors already. We've discussed them. A metaphor is a comparison of two different things. It's like a simile without using the words like or as. For example, a good laugh is sunshine in a house. That's a metaphor. Because it makes you happy. It brings sunshine. It brings joy. A good laugh brings joy. So here are some elements. There's more. There's meter. Meter is a rhythmic pattern in a poem that is usually repeated. It can be measured in beats by counting syllables. Here's an example. Whose woods these are, I think I know. That's 8 syllables. Whose woods these are, I think I know. So those would all be certain syllables. So a poet will decide, I want to have so many syllables in a line. And they'll keep up a certain pattern. And then the mood in a poem. The emotion that you, the reader, feel while you are reading. For many poems, the main purpose is to set a mood. Example, the reflection in the river sparkled. So that poem is giving you a peaceful feeling. Some poems give you a peaceful feeling. Some poems, I have some Halloween poems, and they might give you kind of a spooky feeling. Some poems make you laugh. I have some poems that are funny poems that I can read to you. So poems are there to do different things and give you different feelings. And then we have onomatopoeia. And we know what that is. That's the use of words whose sounds suggest the sounds or actions described. For example, bang, ding, pop, crack, crash. Those are all words like that. And those are elements of poetry. We also have things like personification. That's giving things that are not human the personalities and actions of humans. And a poem could say, the wind whistled its happy tune. Does wind whistle? Does wind whistle happy tunes?
No.
No, but that would be an image in a poem. Okay. And then repetition. Poems have repetition. They repeat sounds, words, phrases, or whole lines in a poem. Here's an example. Leaving my friends, leaving my home, leaving my room, leaving my memories. Look how they kept saying the words leaving, leaving my, leaving my, leaving my, leaving my. So that's repetition in the poem. We have rhyme, words that end in the same sound, and that is rhyming. School, tool, rule, poems that rhyme. We like rhyming poems, don't we, boys and girls? We like that kind a lot. So those are some of the elements of poetry. Oh, there's more. Rhyme scheme, the pattern of rhymes. A letter is assigned to each end of the line. If it rhymes with another end of line, it has the same letter. So here, this is important. Look at this. I'm pointing it out because it's important. Mikey, are you looking at our rhyme scheme? Here is a very common kind of poem. Who's ever heard roses are red, violets are blue? Yes, okay. Sugar is sweet, and so are you. This has a rhyme scheme. This is line A. Roses are red is A. Violets are blue is B. Sugar is sweet is C. And so are you is B. Because lines B and B here, because these two lines rhyme. Blue and you rhyme. And then we have rhythm, the musical quality of a poem using alliteration, meter, repetition, or rhyme. Example, twinkle, twinkle, little star. That has that. That's a rhyme. That's like a poem. Now we're going to be going over all of these as we're going through our poems. Similes. Poems have similes where they compare two unlike things using like or as. She was as pale as a lump of sugar. We've studied that. And stanzas. Who remembers what a stanza was? We talked about it yesterday. Teddy, what's a stanza?
It's a paragraph in a poem.
It's a paragraph in a poem. And here's an example. Be not the first by whom the new are tried, nor yet the last to lay the old aside. That's the first stanza. Second stanza. Be thou the first to merit to befriend, his praise is lost who stays till all commend. So it's the divisions in the poem. And then we have a theme, the message about life in the poem. Example, the poor man dressed in riches, and the message here is appearances can be deceiving. So poetry elements, I think that's it. And we have the tone, the author's attitude towards the writing and the audience. Tone is conveyed through the author's words and details. There can be more than one tone. The singing of the birds filled me with joy. The author expresses happiness. So all these things have to do with elements of poetry. Now, we're not going to be learning about every single one of them because we just talked about a lot of them. But those are all the elements of poetry. Today we're going to be discussing a few of them. That was just an overview of all of them. But there's some important ones that we are really going to focus on. Are you ready, boys and girls, to focus on some elements of poetry today? Yes? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to get out of there, and we have to get into our book. Now, I gave you a paper that looks like this, and it says poems can be set up in special ways. Stanzas. Stanzas are groups of lines. And then it says in an acrostic poem, which we saw an acrostic poem, the first letter of each line spells out a word or phrase. Poems use sounds in special ways. A rhyme scheme, and we had a rhyme scheme here. Here's a rhyme scheme right there. Is the rhyming pattern at the ends of the lines. It says, answer the questions about page 151 of Adventures with Words. So boys and girls, we have to go into our poems. So let's go to page 151. So I have to get to our poems. So let's get to our poems. Okay, 151. We need to be on 151. Let's see what we have to look here in our elements of poetry. So I want you to look at Top Secret. Here's our poem here. Top Secret.
I, like you. That smile on your face is like a simile. I don't know how it got there, but it looks just right. It says, you know I don't like the same shade of blue as you, but I'll agree with you anyway, because friends are like that. Like a simile, your smile is nearly the same as mine, but not quite, which is exactly how I like it. From Cricket Magazine,
Oh, that's the wrong
by
one.
Casey Hermanson.
Oh, well. Wrong one, sorry.
Top Secret, from Books Speak, Poems About Books, by Laura Purdy Salas, illustrated by Jose Bisayon. Describe your desires and they become mine. I'm a treasure box where feelings can shine. All thinkers need pages where dreams can take flight. Reveal all your secrets, one entry per night. Desires. Your desires are your wishes for certain things to happen. Entry. If you write an entry, you write a short note in a diary or a book.
Okay, so boys and girls, I want you to look at your poem. I'm going to get over here. And here's what I want you to do. It says, let's look at our first question. It says, what is unusual about the first letter in each line? What is unusual? Juliana?
It's bold.
It's bold. What else is unusual about it? Yes, what else is unusual? Who else is noticing something unusual? Yes, Juliana?
It spells diary.
Yes, it does. The first letters of the line spell the word diary. So let's write that. So the first letters, so we're going to say the first letters of the lines spell the word diary. And I'm going to write it all in caps. C-I-A-R-Y. So, let's do that. Okay, spell the word diary. Good job. Now, what? Now, with question number 2. What do you notice about the words at the end of lines 1, 2, 3, and 5? What are we noticing about those words? What do you notice? Avery?
That in one, they all rhymed. Not all of them, but in 1 and 2, mine and shine rhymed.
Yes, they rhyme. So we're going to write that. They rhyme. And so what words rhyme?
Mine and shine,
Mine and shine.
and slight and night.
So we'll say mine and shine. And then what else was it?
Light and night.
Light and night. Light and night. I just use the and sign. Let's take that. Can everybody see? Now, boys and girls, it says, why did the poet use rhyme in this poem? Why do you think they used rhyme in the poem? Why? Yes, Ivy.
Because it sounds nice.
It sounds good. Yes, it does sound nice. I like how it sounds. It sounds nice. Jensen? Yes, Kelsey?
To make it interesting.
Yes, to make it interesting. Because it sounds, we're going to say it sounds nice. Sounds nice. To make it more interesting. And you know what? It ties the poem together. We're going to write that. To make it more interesting, and it ties the poem together. Ties the poem together. Did everybody write it, so now I can go to the next page? I'll wait for Clark. And Jensen, are you still writing? No. Clark, are you done? Okay, I'm gonna go to the next page. Now, let's look on, now we have to go, it says, answer the questions about pages 152 to 154. So let's look, it says, how does the shape of in the land of words match the ideas in the poem? So let's look in the land of words, which is on page 152. So I'm gonna go to that poem, 152. So let's look at that poem.
In the Land of Words by Eloise Greenfield. Illustrated by Jan Spivey Gilchrist. In the land of words. In the land of words, I stand as still as a tree and let the words rain down on me. Come, rain, bring your knowledge and your music. Sing while I grow green and full. I'll stand as still as a tree and let your blessings fall on me.
Okay, wow. How does the shape of the words on this page, on page 152, match the ideas in the poem? Clark? Hurry up. Jensen?
Because things are falling and it looks like the words are falling.
Oh yes, the leaves are falling and it looks like the words are falling. Very good. I'm glad you see that because seriously, to me it's kind of a stretch, but okay, we'll go with that. It just looks, okay. So let's say that. I like it. So it looks like the words in the poem are falling down the page. So good point. Thank you. It looks like the words are falling down the page. Like leaves, or I think it is rain. Isn't it like rain? I mean, they're showing leaves, but we'll say like leaves or rain. How about that? Because they talk about rain in the poem, but in the illustration they're showing leaves, which I think is why we're thinking leaves. So we'll say leaves or rain. Like that. We didn't write it. Oh, okay. I have to confess, it totally does not look like that to me at all, but I'm glad you kind of see that. Okay, let's look at the next question. Number 5 says, which words in line 6 of the poem help you see the words falling? So let's look, come on, in line 6. So line 6. Here's, look at line 6. It says, so find line 6 and tell me which words help you see that. What is line 6? Slogan?
Because it says rain down on me.
So are those the words that help you see that?
Yeah.
Which apparently don't help me see that, but rain down on me. So we could write the words rain down, the words rain down on me. So let's just write rain down on me. Okay? Now, number 6 says, how is the same image used in I Go to the Land on page 154? So look at the image. So we're looking at the illustration. So look on 154 and on 150, I Go to the Land. So how is the image the same? From in the land of words and I go to land. So how is the image the same? Or how is the same image used? Ivy.
The same image is, it's like a raindrop.
It's like a raindrop. What part is like a raindrop? They're talking about the picture of this person. I'll show you. This one, and then see him there, and then we're talking about, how about if I go 2 pages? Oh, that, and then this.
They're both like rain. Like they're both.
This, and then how is it? And then that. Oh, except it's not.
They're both like kind of like putting their hands in the air.
Okay, that. And what are they doing that is
They're
kind
like,
of?
I think they're trying to catch it.
Okay, they're kind of catching. What are they catching? Olive?
The leaves in the rain.
But they're not really catching leaves and rain. What are they really catching? Elisa, what are they really catching?
Water.
Are they really catching water? Well, I guess they're kind of catching water. Yes, I guess they're catching water. Jensen? They're catching water. Yes, they're catching words. Because he's catching words in the first poem. And here he's catching the water. So they're catching things in the poem. So here we could say is, in words are falling water, and the poet wants to drink them. That was kind of hard to get to. You have to really be looking at it to kind of think about that, right, boys and girls? Because there was a lot of imagery to think of that the poet was wanting to drink those words, and then in the last page, what was the poet doing? He was drinking them. But he was drinking the water, but he was really, in the first poem, he wanted to drink the words. So in the last poem, he's drinking. In poems, one thing will often stand for another, something else.